Welcome to ScreenMDM Talks, hosted by me, Mantala Swani. This episode is produced in partnership with Series Mania. Scan the QR code for more details. Hello, welcome back to ScreenMDM Talks. I am beyond excited today to be chatting with Laurence Herszberg, who is the founder and general director of Series Mania, arguably the one event that you need to be at in the first quarter if you're in the business of scripted television. Laurence, it's such a delight to have you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, and thank you for such nice words as an introduction.
No, I honestly, I was telling your colleague last week, I am beyond excited to be coming this year. So you've been on this 16-year journey building this event. I know building an event and making it a must-attend thing, it's hard, especially in such a crowded environment. So give me a sense of what have been some of your major milestones over this period that have really established Series Mania Forum as the place to be for stories.
So I will make it even a bit more global than only the forum, because everyone has to understand that Series Mania is a three-part event. There is a festival, the forum for the professionals, and the school, Series Mania Institute. And as far as milestones are concerned, when we started after 2 years to have a competition, and the first president of the competition being David Chase from The Soprano, put us on a quite of a high standard of what we were capable to do. And then we had Vince Gilligan coming and Damon Lindelof as another president of the jury, Agai Levy, etc. And on the meantime, almost at the beginning, all the professionals that were running from a venue to another, at that time Series Mania was in Paris, saying, but we need, a place for us, because it's so interesting to have all this international series that we did at that time. No, I mean, that we were talking before platforms, because everything. We want to know more about that. We want, just to co-produce maybe. And that's how the first idea of the professional forum around co-production, which was totally normal for cinema, but not for the TV industry, came in place. And as my colleagues and I, we were coming from the cinema, we were wondering, okay, I mean, everyone co-produce, everyone knows everyone in the cinema world. Why it's not the case in TV? And it was not the case in TV, because in TV, all the professional market at that time were focusing on buying and selling. We had MIPCOM, and when we tried to put everything in place, we said, okay, there are two markets in France, so we're going to do another direction, because we were really sure that the beginning of a series is from the idea and the content. So we started from there, and we built this co-production forum the second year, and that was one of the major milestones of the construction of the event. And the co-pro pitching session are still a highlight of the 3-day event, the forum, because we receive 400 projects, we select 15. So can you imagine how difficult it is? But we have all ideas, everything, and we can see what the world of scriptwriters and producers are interested in. That's very interesting. And we see where new ideas come from. So the co-production forum was something important. And then we saw the growing of the international delegation. And now we come to a point that we will have 27 official delegation, which is amazing.
That's
coming from so many countries. And last year we had 5,000 attendees, people from the industry coming to the forum. And we still expect more, which means that now you can analyze it on different ways. First of all, our business, we thought at what time that the business could be done by Zoom. Now we totally understand that after COVID, etc., we're back to, if we have to spend 3 years with a screenwriter, with a producer, with a distributor, you have to have a beer with him, or a coffee for those just like me who don't drink. Okay, so people, and now that our industry confronted with a lot of difficulties,
Yes.
there is an urge to meet. And people know that at Series Mania, you can meet. You can still elaborate on a series in a corridor. You can still discuss with a lot of people. So that's why I must say that the event is still growing despite the crisis in our industry. And as much as you are talking about highlights, I think that when we created the IP market some years ago on such a large scale, we were already faced with the industry where we were witnessing more and more series being produced based on IPs. Whatever the IPs could be, it could be a book, it could be a manga, and now we have these very, very big IPs. Another thing which is very interesting is that when we created this marketing award, because I kept telling the producers, you have to help the platforms, you have to help the broadcaster to market your series. Otherwise, it goes under the radar. And now we give an award to the best marketing campaign to push producers and broadcasters a platform to say, you've been working on a series for 3 years. Don't let your show go unseen. And the buyer upfront last year was also a real milestone because, as I told you at the beginning, we didn't want, just to have a buyer-seller event because there were MIP and MIPCOM. As MIP has disappeared and there is only now MIPCOM, more and more people said we need another place where we can come and offer our series or buy, which means that now we are representing the whole chain of value in our profession, from the idea of a series to international distribution. The other thing that I'm pushing also platforms to understand is that the festival is where the buzz starts. And it's very interesting, again, with the comparison with the cinema. I mean, all the producers, distributor will die to be either to enter Cannes, a film festival, or Berlin, or Venice. In the TV business, in the TV series, it's much more difficult because platforms decide, okay, we have this week to promote this series and we will promote it on this territory and not on this one because they produce massively. And I kept telling them, you're making mistakes. A festival is the best way to start all the marketing campaign and to attract attention on your show.
Yeah.
Because I must admit, it's difficult to get a platform to give you access to their series. Yes, it's difficult, even for Series Mania.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Laurence, as you know, the industry has gone through a lot. I saw an Ampere report about the US coming back up, international is still lagging behind. Given all of it, in this sort of post-peak TV world that we are all living in, how should producers and IP owners be sort of pivoting? You've already mentioned the marketing side. What else do you think they need to be doing to fully embrace all the opportunities that are still in the ecosystem and grow their businesses?
Okay, we all know that the industry is confronted to a massive rationalization. So we have to stay clear about how will we address the final audience at what time and how can we finance. First of all, just to think that massive and global ideas and something that is, just like that will attract the attention is wrong. Keep in mind that people still want originality, absolutely, in series, just like in cinema. Don't think that they only want to see the 15 big stars that are bankable for you. On the other hand, we all know that more and more broadcasters are willing to produce thrillers or crime stories. Fine, but be original in those thrillers and crime stories. That's another thing. And then we know that AI, it's just the elephant in the room in our industry, but we are all confronted with AI in different aspects. of developing a series, selling it, etc. We have to use it, not to be overwhelmed by it, but to use it. We know that for the moment, and I hope that it will stay like that, scriptwriters won't be replaced by AI, but they have to know how to use it. Then for the how to finance, it's very interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit later, that Korea is a country of honor at Series Mania. And they know how to start from the small ideas to do all the chain and to then develop it in different section and different type of showing an idea. And that how to develop an IP in all its different aspects. And that we could learn from Korea. The other thing is, it's very interesting that the question is very interesting because we have the impression that the platforms now more and more try to invest in big shows, premium shows with big stars, always the same, by the way. And that will be facing some kind of uniformity, yes?
Oh, yes. No, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the stories being told, the actors and actresses shown, and we have to pay attention to that. At what point the audience will really want to see other things. And what is very interesting in our festival section this year is that we realize that the creativity is coming less from the US. We know that Hollywood is in crisis, and more from Europe. And what was considered as something that was running against our industry, European regulation and especially French regulation, is now seen as an asset to produce as at a lower cost without sacrificing quality.
Yeah.
And I think that Europe can do that and knows how to do it.
I want to come back to South Korea. I'm an
Yeah.
old Asian girl. I started my career covering the TV business in Asia 3 decades ago. So I have a soft spot for that part of the world. Every time I see Asian storytelling come to the global stage, I am positively over the moon. So I do want to come back to South Korea. But you mentioned regulation. Obviously, there are a lot of sort of meaty topics that you have to get to in the drama business. Tell me about the 2026 Allele Dialogues. What are some of the themes that you really want to get to at the dialogues at the high level to understand where the business is going and how we're navigating it now?
You know that we have this big day called Lille Dialogues, where we confront ideas, tendencies, etc., coming from all the part of the world, and especially between Europe and the US. Now that we're all confronted to this Hollywood crisis, I don't know how to put it or to develop it, but we know that there is, for a lot of reasons, industrial reasons, political reasons. Now the global environment in our industry is reshaping and the alliances are changing. And now more and more countries say, okay, maybe the US is no more an industrial ally, but we want to take part of it. Let's take Canada. Absolutely. Let's take Korea, who has a close model, but who now thinks that maybe you could see at other part of the world. Australia. So we are wondering if the global map of cooperation is not being reshaped and having emerging countries coming in response to the to today's tense geopolitical landscape. And then we will zoom on Europe because we are realizing that there is a lot of creativity in Europe and that also the European regulation facilitate the cooperation within European countries. And that makes an asset for all the European industry, but they also now want to cooperate with other countries. That will reshape, and we will focus on the new initiatives led by the European Commission, including Agora EU. And then we will look at alliances between commercial broadcasters and streamers where at what point they were once competing. And now they make alliances. TF1 and Netflix, France Télévisions and Prime. So it's very interesting to see how the landscape is reshaping, meaning that the streamers are also in a more difficult position. And when years back they wanted to get all the rights worldwide, now they're open to share.
So let's now go back to Korea. Major statement for a European festival to be celebrating Korea at this time in Korean content. And I'm curious, you've talked about this a little bit already, the opportunities for learning. What do you think Korea can add in terms of value and ideas to Europe, and then vice versa?
Obviously, the strategy of IP coming from Korea is fascinating. They can get from one screen to adapt to another.
Yep.
And now when you take, even their small forms, vertical forms, etc.
Mm.
I mean, they ask the guy who has the idea to produce by himself, to put it on the web. If it's interesting, then they will ask him to develop more, add a producer, be produced, and sometimes it can go up to a musical.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. The other thing that is fascinating is how they made TV series and more globally K-drama and more globally their culture a major tool of soft power.
Yeah.
And that maybe countries or Europe at a whole could use it. Let's take, for instance, Emily in Paris.
Mm.
For French people, it's absolutely not Paris. But you can consider it as being totally a tool of soft power for the French people. Now she will go to Rome. Same thing again. Of course, we don't consider it French. Of course, we don't consider it as showing the reality, but it's really something that is used as a soft power. So creativity can be used as soft power. So we can learn that from the Korean. The other thing that the Korean can learn from the Europeans is that now they start to realize that they are very Netflix dependent. And when I was there, 2 months ago, and when I met a lot of producers, they say, it's been more difficult. Netflix is buying less. So they're coming, and we have a very big delegation of Korean producers interested in the European model, where you have, of course, groups, but also independent producers. You have a lot of broadcasters or streamers that you can offer your show to. So I think it's both ways that we can learn from Korea. On the other hand, just from a French point of view, it was also the 140th anniversary of the first international treaty between France and Korea. So that's something that we should acknowledge.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. Now, I know you've got a couple of strands that are sort of relevant to new developments in the business, AI, microdrama. Are there any other initiatives that are new for this year that you wanted to highlight for our readers and viewers?
After the IP market, the buyers upfront, the best initiative campaign, now we created an innovation corner to focus on innovation and tools, real tools coming from other industry that we could use in our industry. Same thing again is to show our industry what they can find in other industry, in other markets, etc. So that's the first year that we're going to have this innovation corner with a lot of sessions being provided. And I think that it's very interesting for all our industry again.
Yeah. Brilliant. Now, obviously, through the Series Mania Institute, you're training the next generation. Is there one skill set that you think a producer, a showrunner needs today that they did not need to have in 2021 when we were all coasting on the height of the streaming wars? What is the one thing you need today?
Very interesting question again. Maybe cultural flexibility. Now that we are used to watch Korean shows, Israeli shows, Australian shows, etc. For the screenwriters, you have to understand that your series has to be really local. You're telling your stories, but that it could travel. And for the stories you travel, you have to be culturally flexible, to know how to address other people who doesn't know about your culture. Same thing applied to producers. Now they know that when they want to produce a show, they have to understand that it's a very good way to attract other producers from other countries. That's why we're doing the co-pitching sessions, because those shows travel a lot. And everything that is in between cultures. That's why we have all these initiatives regarding, for instance, Eureka Series, when we put European script writers in the same environment just to see what is the differences, how you can build together a European show, are always interesting, because you don't have to lose what is something that people are looking for, something from your culture, but you have to learn with other people from other countries.
Yeah, no, that is so interesting. Laurence, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you for sharing all of this great intel on Series Mania with me. And really, congratulations on what you have built there. It's quite remarkable. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the ScreenMDM Talks podcast, this week produced in participation with Series Mania Forum, the international hub for series professionals, March 24 to 26, from creation to international distribution. Connect, collaborate, create in Lyon, France, or online at Series Mania Plus. Register now. Visit seriesmania.com for more information.